Hi, everybody. This is Jen and Laura from Turquoise, and we are here today with some very special guests from Ridge Vineyards. And to start it off, Shauna, Michael, I'm going to let you guys just do a quick introduction of yourself and who you are and what you do for Ridge.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm Michael Bairdsmith. I am the assistant winemaker here at Ridge Vineyards. I just celebrated my 12-year anniversary yesterday at Ridge. I hope to do at least 12 more. We'll see how this interview goes. See if I incriminate myself. Did I say assistant winemaker? Yeah, that's my position here, and I absolutely love Ridge. I'll talk more about my history later, but go ahead and introduce yourself, Shauna.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Shauna Rosenblum. I'm the winemaker for Ridge Lytton Springs. And Michael and I are in charge of making Lytton Springs, most of our Zinfandel-based ATP wines, which is the name of our wine club, and also Three Valleys, which is a wine that is being poured at Turquoise that we'll talk a little bit more about.
That's awesome. Well, welcome, you guys. We're really excited to connect with you and have you on. So we want you guys tell us a little bit about Ridge, and I know it's got some great history to it. Let's talk us through the history of the winery.
Ooh,
Sure.
it's a long and exciting story. Shauna, you want me to go?
Yeah, go for it, Mike.
Okay, you can fill in the blanks because I didn't do my homework before this, and even though I've been here for a dozen years, I still forget some of the details.
I'll jump
But
in.
honestly, it all started in Santa Cruz Mountains in the late 19th century. Some vineyards were planted, high elevation in limestone soils. In that location, how these old farmers knew to plant cab up in these locations is beyond me. Without the modern technology that we have today, they recognize the soil, the climate, the slope. Everything about this location was just perfect for cab and other Bordeaux varieties, and that's what they planted. It turns out they were correct. It's some of the most unique cab Merlot, cab Franc blends out of California.
And this is our Montebello vineyard in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Yeah, that's where it all started. It's at the Montebello Vineyard in Santa Cruz Mountains. And fast forward to, I don't know, the 40s. I kind of like to skip ahead to 62 when we came in on the scene. The history is a little convoluted. Some of those vines, a lot of those vines were replanted. We had
In
prohibition.
the 40s, yeah, exactly.
Prohibition from 1920 to 33 really messed with everything. And then a lot of the vines were replanted in the 40s. Cut to a team of students from Stanford are with their families and looking for a place to camp on weekends. They discover this old vineyard in disrepair, and there are some vines on the site. And they're like, well, let's see what we can make out of these vines. I don't remember if they had an option to buy the property or what they were doing up there. It was the 60s, so we're probably not.
You're totally on it. You're right on track.
But anyway, they made a little half barrel of wine out of the vines up there that ended up being kind of the first Montebello. We talk about Montebello a lot, like people know what it is, and not everyone necessarily does. But if you've heard of the Paris, the Judgment of Paris tasting, as well as just sort of like one of your more prestigious cab-based blends coming out of California, that is where we started. We call it Montebello. It's on Montebello Road. It's at our Montebello winery. Our Montebello is a big deal. Anyway, they made the first sort of Montebello. Thought it was fantastic. They had a friend named Paul Draper, who's also a Stanford grad. None of these people are winemakers, by the way, not by profession. They're all, philosophy majors and humanities majors.
And theologians.
And theologians.
Researchers.
Yeah, just like the rest of us. And they did an okay job, and they brought in Paul, who had actually just opened a winery or helped open a winery in Chile, and said, what do you think? And he was like, this is incredible. My God, if you guys actually knew what you were doing, this could be world class. They're like, great, join the team, Paul. That was in the late 60s. And he's been with us ever since. He's still part of the winery. He's been forced in retirement every 10 years for the past 2 decades, and he's not good at retiring. He's still sticking around. He's great. He's invaluable at when it comes to these assemblage tastings when we actually put the final wine together. And he's just a legend and brings so much experience that we still get to benefit from. A lot happened between what I just said.
He just turned 90 as well.
He just turned 90. Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been making Montebello since the 60s. It was not enough to sustain just one winery to have this small vineyard. So Paul sort of made it his mission to go around California and find unique vineyard sites that produced a wine that really expressed the place. And so we started in the late 60s at our Geyserville Ranch, which is just, we're in Healdsburg right now, Shauna and I, at our Lytton Springs winery. So we basically run as two different wineries now. Our Montebello is still there, and we've got our Lytton Springs winery, which completed construction around 2000. But we've been sourcing grapes from this area since 68. I probably have that year wrong. And around 72, we started making wine from our location where we are physically sitting right now, which is our Lytton Springs vineyard. So I just listed off kind of our three flagship wines: Montebello, Geyserville, and Lytton Springs. And the Montebello is a Bordeaux-based blend. Geyserville and Lytton Springs are both Zinfandel-based, but with complementary varieties planted throughout the vineyard, which is the way they planted grapes 100 years ago, which is a lot of our vineyards are between 100 and 130 years old here on the estate.
And so Lytton Springs was planted 1901, 1910 are the oldest vines. Geyserville, late 1800s, to Michael's point.
Yeah.
Wow. That has got some history in those vines.
Well, that was the thing.
Sure.
Paul wanted to go find vineyards like this, and sort of stake his flag, and because I mean, great wines come from great vineyards. Period. Right. So we were really grateful that he had that foresight to lock these places down, and we've been sourcing from them for decades. For 50, 60 years.
Extraordinary single vineyard sites is kind of our motto. And Paul Draper, to Michael's point, really started that. Going around California looking for these sites that expressed, what we think of now as terroir, but really expressed everything about the soil, the weather, the grapes that are grown there, like the variety. And so when we find these sites, it's really unique. And a lot of the times, like Michael said, the vines, go back to the 1800s. And so we have our estate vineyards. We also have many other vineyards that we work with, grower partners that we purchase fruit from, many of whom have these old vine sites. And they're kind of all around Sonoma and Contra Costa. We have some stuff in Paso Robles. So yeah, kind of all over the place.
Now, what's the heritage? Did someone from his family take over, or?
From Paul's family?
Yeah.
No, you know what? There is quite a bit of heritage, but none of it's any of Paul's offspring. It's really the folks that Paul gathered to sort of form a community up at Montebello. If anyone is listening to this, has ever been to Montebello, they'll know this place is isolated, to put it lightly. It's technically in Cupertino, which is, the heart of Silicon Valley, but get that out of your head entirely. It's gosh, I mean, it's a good hour. I don't know. It feels like from downtown Cupertino. It's basically you go to the edge of town, past a quarry, take a ride up this road, up a mountain, switchbacks for 30
minutes up the mountain
until you're like, this can't be correct. We're lost. We missed it, or we're on the wrong road. But you just keep going, and eventually you get there. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's been there for so long, it's impossible for me to imagine how anyone discovered this site. I mean, we're talking, on horseback back in the day.
Right, before there was a road in existence, right?
Yeah. Well, and you kind of glossed over it a little bit, Michael, but I would love to just make sure people understand with Montebello. You talked briefly about the Judgment of Paris, which is, of course, when the United States, when California beat France for the first time in the big wine tasting. And you guys, that Ridge Vineyards was a part of it. Montebello was a part of it.
Right. Our 1971 vintage of Montebello was included in the original Judgment of Paris, where we placed 5th. And then there was a reenactment where our 1971 placed 1st. And then the second reenactment with a newer vintage, it also placed 1st. So
that's awesome. That is just incredible. I wanted to make sure that got in here, you guys, because you guys should be so proud of that. That's amazing.
We are.
It really speaks to the site. It really,
yeah, it does.
It's a truly unique location. And to Michael's point, it's 1,800 feet in elevation, 12 miles from the Pacific Ocean. The mountain is made of limestone. So that's really, I think, one of the defining factors that makes this Cabernet and all the Bordeaux varieties grow so well there. In Bordeaux, the soil has a lot of limestone. And as a result, the roots can stay a little bit cooler during heat, like hot days. And the same thing happens at Montebello. When we have warm California weather, that limestone really helps keep the vines cool, which means that it keeps its acidity, right? And because it's such a high elevation, cool environment, we're usually picking Montebello into November. And so waiting for ripeness that doesn't happen until November, we get these beautiful, beautiful acids. Sometimes the pH is as low as 3.1, which is very acidic, especially for California Cabernet harvested in November. So it really and truly is an extraordinary single vineyard site to grow Bordeaux varieties.
That's awesome. We're coming. We're on our way.
Yeah, come on, ladies.
After we're done here, we're headed out. It sounds so magical. But now, so such cool stories about Ridge and about the history of Montebello, but tell us a little bit about you guys. Like, what is your journey, as winemakers getting into this crazy industry? What brought you here? What brought you to Ridge? And just tell us a little bit about your style and how you guys work together.
Sure. Well, we sometimes call it the Shauna Michelle show because my name is Shauna Michelle and this is Michael Sean. We were meant to be winemakers together.
Absolutely.
Michael, why don't you go first?
Sure. I bounced around this industry for 25 years now. I was a Davis grad. People often ask me, did you go to UC Davis, the premier wine school in California? I'm like, yes, I did. I have an English degree to prove it. Like a lot of us, strangely, almost, I think everyone at Ridge, we went to college, but we didn't study winemaking. I was an English major, didn't know what I wanted to do. Got into the food service industry, as many of us humanities majors do, just because there was good money and I didn't have any skills. But that really got me into wine. I was dating a girl at the time from college who grew up around here. She grew up in Santa Rosa, and she knows Healdsburg, which is just about 10 minutes north of Santa Rosa. And at the time in 2000 was really kind of a burgeoning new hot spot for nice restaurants. The wine industry has been here forever, obviously, but it was becoming sort of this cool new destination place, for nice restaurants. She's like, yeah, I grew up around there. It's great. Let's go move there. We're like, well, fine. Yeah. Just as good a place as any. And so I got in the food service industry around here, waiting tables at fine dining restaurants for money. And then on the days I had off for fun, I worked in hospitality at local wineries and really got the wine bug that way. And then 2004, I just cashed it all in and said, I want to work a harvest, just as a lowly cellar rat at a small family winery, and learned the trade that way. So that was 22 years ago. And I had a knack for it and a love for it and a real passion for it. I love learning that way by doing. And, I landed here luckily in 2014, so 10 years after that. And we'll never leave. Sorry, Shauna, never leaving.
I'm so grateful you're never leaving.
I did go back to school, by the way, and got my degree, but in winemaking. But
it's a better story that none of us have winemaking degrees.
I love that.
Yeah. So I grew up in the wine industry. My family had a winery called Rosenblum Cellars. My mom and dad, Kent and Kathy Rosenblum, started that in 1976. My father was a veterinarian by trade, but also they fell in love with wine and wanted to make wine, but his practice was in Alameda, which is in the Bay Area. And he thought, well, I'm not leaving my practice, but maybe I can make wine here. We can get the grapes from Napa and Sonoma and just have them trucked here to Alameda and make the wine here. And so my dad was kind of considered like the grandfather of urban winemaking. So they had a winery that we sold to Diageo in 2008. That was a big fast forward, 1976 to 2008.
It's 22 years, yeah.
Yeah, or more.
Wait, 52.
But yeah, I mean, I guess to fill in that gap a little bit, like my dad taught me how to read bricks on a refractometer by the age of 2. By the age of 12, I was working on the bottling line, dumping glass on the line. By the time I was 16, I was sitting in on blends with my dad and the winemaking team, which meant that when it was time to go to college, I wanted nothing to do with winemaking.
Yeah.
So, but I'm an artist, and so I got a scholarship to California College of Arts and Crafts, and my undergraduate degree is in ceramics, and then went on to San Francisco Art Institute and did my master's degree in sculpture. I also did simultaneous teaching degrees to teach art once I was done with my degrees, so I was student teaching simultaneously. And I took a class called Clay and Glaze Technology that really kind of changed the trajectory of my life. So it was all about, making these glazes from scratch. So glaze is made of silica and bentonite, basically. And so you're putting together your base ingredients, adding water, stirring. And then I was sitting in my lab. I had my triple beam scale and my 20 red solo cups of my control glaze. And I'm saying, okay, 1 ounce of potassium dichromate to cup number 1. Okay, 1 ounce of sodium metabisulfate to cup number 2. And during this class, you learn like what's going to blow up the building at 3,000 degrees and what is an okay chemical to mix together. And while I was sitting there during that process, I had an epiphany, like this is the exact same process as blending wine. Mm-hmm. And that had never really occurred to me before, that winemaking was art. But once I had that perspective shift, like, damn it, now I want to know why. I'm interested in wine now.
Oh, despite yourself.
I know. So, I always worked harvest at Rosenblum Cellars. But once I took that class, I went back and I was actually engaged mentally, not just physically. I was like, why do we do 3 pump overs and not 2? Why do we love macro bins so much for fermentation? Like, I wanted to know all the answers to these questions. And then, like I said, in 2008, my parents decided to sell Rosenblum to Diageo. That same year, I was teaching art in the city of Oakland, and I had several different jobs because that's what you do as an art teacher. You got a bunch of gigs. And my dad says to me, he goes, I don't think we're done. I think we're going to open another winery. Like, do you want to be part of it? Like, another job? Yes, please. So I started, ordering all of the equipment and started just getting this space set up. It was a hangar on the old Alameda Naval Air Base. So we had this 40,000 square foot hangar that, like, the doors opened and looked at San Francisco. It was an absolutely gorgeous location. And so we're getting the winery set up, and my dad's out traveling for Diageo doing winemaking for them. And I call him and I'm like, hey, like, the winery's set up. Grapes are getting ripe. Like, when are you coming back? And he's like, so here's the thing. I'm not. I'll see you in November. I have to go do stuff for Diageo. And I'm like, but I don't know how to make wine. And he goes, yes, you do. That was it. Yes, you do. And so he came back in November. And of course, I had taken ownership over every part of the process, calling the picks, bringing in the grapes, making the wine, which, for a lot of the process meant, staying late, whatever it took to make sure that the wine was the absolute best. And so that happened, and then my dad came back in November, and I was very excited. I was like, look, Dad, I made all these Zinfandels and the Cabernet Franc and everything that we talked about. And I also made Montepulciano, and I made Rosé, and I made doubles, and I made and he was just like, okay.
You're hired. You're hired.
He goes, well, I was supposed to be the winemaker here, but I think you're the winemaker here. And I felt total ownership and just such passion for this art form that was newly discovered for me. So spent 14 years there. That winery was called Rockwall Wine Company. Spent 14 years there, and then we were at the end of our lease, and unfortunately, my dad died in 2018. So during this process, which, I shared an office with him, my dad really taught me everything I know about making wine. And I kind of decided I didn't necessarily want to continue the process without him, but also looked at the trajectory of signing another 15-year lease, which just didn't look like a financially responsible thing to do. And made the very, very emotional, challenging decision to close that winery. Paid all our bills, paid the investors, landed the plane gently, tied a beautiful bow around this experience that I had with my dad, and sent an email out to the world saying like, hey, we've loved all this time, we're closing. And I got a response to that email from my current boss, John Olney, asking me if I'd like to stay in touch. And I said yes.
Perfect. Yes.
And here we are.
I love how things just work out. I totally agree that wine is art, and I love the very, very, very fine line between art and science in all of that. Like, I think it's fantastic, you guys. So thank you for sharing your stories.
Yes, of course.
And I think it is time, because we're sitting here staring at these glasses of wine.
Yes.
And I'd love to talk a little bit about Three Valleys.
Let's do it.
This is something we've got at Turquoise right now on our menu. We always have this available on our wall. We're super excited to have Ridge as one of our winery partners, and to be featuring this wine. So first and foremost, cheers, you guys, to this partnership. We're so excited. It's 5:00 somewhere.
There you go.
We know what's really in those coffee mugs. You too. We do. For everybody who comes into Turquoise, if you have come in to try this, this has been spectacular. It is so popular. We've only had it for a couple months, and we literally can't keep it on the shelves. If you've not tried this yet, oh my God, you've got to come in and you've got to have a glass, because it is absolutely spectacular. And then anybody who is traveling to these wine regions where Ridge has a vineyard, look at our Winery Partners program. They are in our Winery Partners now. And if you are in the Turquoise Wine Club, you get to enjoy the perks of being an honorary wine club member for a day at Ridge when you go there, which means you get a complimentary tasting and you get wine club pricing on the bottles that you purchase. So we love that you guys are partners with us. We are so excited to carry Ridge wines at every location we are opening now in Arizona and in Texas, and to continue to do more and more with you guys as we keep going.
Thank you. And huge congratulations on the success of your wine bar. Such a cool concept, and especially in the world at large right now and in the economy, to be taking up space, doing such a beautiful thing. I love it. I love it so much.
I do
we
too.
say we're as much about community as we are wine, and that's really the missing piece in the world today. So people just want somewhere that they can come and hang and have instant friends, and everything else gets left at the door.
Yes. Yeah, Laura, that's really well put, because it's a real struggle for a lot of people in the business. You have to do something special like what you guys are doing to bring people in and have them really enjoy wine, and you can't just be shouting from the rooftops, just buy more wine. It's hold on, give me some incentive, make it interesting.
Wine is an experience. Wine is meant to be shared. It is meant for people to come together and find the things that make us, a part of this community. So there's so much divisiveness in the world today. What we do is bring people in and have everybody connect over a glass of wine. And luckily we have fantastic wine that we get to do this with. So you ruined me for the rest of the day, because my first sip is now this wine right here, and I don't want anything else. So
So do you guys have anything to add about the Three Valleys and anything about the wine specific to share?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Do you want me to tell them about it a little bit first?
Yeah, go for it, Michael.
Okay, I just want to talk a little bit because we glossed over the fact we talked about our flagship wines being Montebello, Geyserville, Lytton Springs, but you also mentioned, Shauna, that we do source from a lot of great growers around here.
That's correct. Right.
Well, I mean, we couldn't farm enough fruit for ourselves. There's some really amazing vineyards and some talented growers around here. We source from a lot of them. It's about 50-50 estate, 50% is sort of other growers who grow for us. And what we do is pretty straightforward. We go out to the vineyard, we decide when to pick, we pick most of it's nearly all of it's old vines, so it's all hand picked, brought into the winery, crushed, destemmed, put into fermentation tanks, allowed to ferment on the native yeast, allowed to go through secondary fermentation with native bacteria, and then it's drained and pressed into barrel and barrel aged. This is something we do with every wine we bring into the winery, regardless of whether it's a vineyard that's always been in our estate wine or whether it's a new grower or someone we've been working with for decades. So all the wine gets treated the same. Then we go through an exhaustive process of tasting each lot after it's pretty much finished wine, usually around this time of year, and deciding what is our A+, most age-worthy stuff that's going to go into our small bottlings of our Lytton Springs, Geyserville, Pagani, etc., and what is still premium quality but isn't going to have the same trajectory as those wines, and those get blended together into our Three Valleys.
Beautifully said, Michael.
Thank you.
So Three Valleys is going to taste like a Ridge wine because it's made from the same fruit and made the exact same way that we make all of our other wines. And to Michael's point, the only reason that these lots are not bottled on their own is because they maybe lack the structure for ageability. And we really want our wines to have great structure, great texture, great acidity, great balance. But if something doesn't have the structure to age, then we isolate it as not an A+ lot. So everything that's not an A+ lot goes into Three Valleys, which means it's still made of some really great parts, just not as ageable.
Yeah, and it's ready often, to drink now, right?
Exactly. I was going to say it's often more approachable in its youth. Yeah, exactly. And nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Well, and 2023 was such a cool vintage that there's even like more plentiful acidity, and it's like such a nice, balanced, beautiful wine. Yeah, we're excited to share this with everybody, and I love that y'all are featuring it. Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, for everybody listening, come in, grab a bottle, have a glass, come hang out with us. This is great. You don't want to miss it. And we've been told this is ready to drink now, so I guess that's what we're going to do.
Bottoms up.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Jen and Laura.